Hey everyone, happy back to school time. I'm Mr. Rodenizer. I'm a provisional psychologist, and I'm coming at you from Coalbanks Elementary School. We're really excited here at Coalbanks because this is our very first school year. We're all nervous, we're all excited, and I want to share with you today some tips as to how you can make sure that this is a really good year. Whether it's your the teachers here are really excited here. Whether it's your first year of school or it's your first year at a new school, these are tips on how you can flourish in the 2017-2018 school year. And I'm using I'm going to use my hands to help you remember these tips. So let's start with number one. We're going to start with the thumb. Thumbs up. The first tip is about having positive emotions. You might say, oh, well, it's easy just to say be happy. But really, there are certain things we can do to increase the amount of pleasant feelings that we have. One of the best ways of doing that is by practicing gratitude. The more grateful we are for the things that we have and the situations that we're in, the happier those things will make us. Gratitude is something that we can practice every day. We can be grateful for the people that help us, for our teachers, for our friends, grateful that we live in a land where we have access to education, for the grass, the flowers, the rain, the wind, even the wind. So the idea here is just be grateful for what you have and practice it. Write it down. Remind yourself every day, morning and night, what are you grateful for? There's other ways to increase your positive emotions. One of those is meditation. Just sitting down, being calm, taking deep breaths, slowing down, and really savoring what life has to offer. I won't go too much into that, but there's lots of stuff online that can help you with your meditation practice. So number one, positive emotions through gratitude and meditation and savoring, okay? Number two, I use this, it's supposed to be a laser pointer, okay? The laser pointer is to represent focus. And what I mean by focus is being so focused and so engaged in your activities that you lose track of time. This is a really important tip for flourishing and for having a good time. School is a great way to do that. And here at Coalbanks, we're going to do a lot of problem-based learning, a lot of projects, a lot of really cool activities. And so if you come into the Coalbanks school, you're going to see kids who are working on projects and are going to be they're so focused on what they're doing that time flies by and they don't even realize how much effort and time they're putting into their projects. When you're able to do that and be creative and just lose yourself in your activities, this is really good for your brain. It's really good for your mental health, and it allows you to, it's really good for your schooling too, because when you're that engaged, you succeed, right? So find a project that's meaningful to you, whether that's at school or at home or in the community. Find something that you can really sink your teeth into. Maybe you want to start making YouTube videos, or maybe you want to learn a skill, learn a musical instrument, practice a sport. Whatever it is, if it makes you lose your sense of time, that's what we're looking for there. So that's number two. Laser focus. Number three, it's kind of a stretch here. I'm going to use 3 fingers, but on both hands, I'm going to put them together. And does that kind of look like a heart or a spider? It's supposed to be a heart. The third trick of flourishing is your relationships. Relationships are, I'm going to say, probably the most factor in your well-being. The most important factor in your well-being, and it's also super important when it comes to how well you do in school. So relationships are not something to take for granted. by fostering our relationships with our loved ones, with our parents, with our brothers and sisters, cousins, aunts and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, and then especially if we're talking about school, with our friends at school and our teachers. If you can focus on your relationships, be kind to one another, try to be understanding, be empathetic of one another, that's going to be key in having a good school year. When you feel disconnected from your peers, that's when you're going to be emotionally so hurt and distracted that it's going to be very difficult to have a good school year and to do well in your studies. So focus on your relationships, improve your relationships, and show empathy to one another, and you'll feel more connected and more able to flourish. So that's number 3. Number 4 is, this is the best I could do for 4. These are 4 fingers, and that's an M for meaning. We have to make our day-to-day lives more meaningful, more purpose. And here at Colbanks, what we're trying to do, as I said before, is to have more meaningful projects, so that kids aren't just hitting pen to paper for the sake of work, but they're putting their efforts towards something that's really meaningful. We've got some really cool clubs, and students here, if they have an idea for a project or a club or something that they want to see the school do, we're very open to those ideas. So the idea here is, if you dedicate yourself to something bigger than yourself, that's when you get a true sense of meaning and purpose, and that's necessary for flourishing. Okay? The last one is, the 5th one, is high five. In that, normally we give high fives when we do a good job. One of the most important parts of flourishing is to have a sense of accomplishment. And I was about to say the word achievement, but it's a little different. I prefer the word accomplishment. Accomplishment is about feeling like you have learned something. Getting an A is great. Getting 10 out of 10 is fantastic. But there's a deeper sense of satisfaction that comes from knowing that you did something difficult. Whether it's learning long division and you're just not getting it, and then you put in the effort and work with your teachers and your peers, and then finally you understand long division. That's the type of accomplishment that we're looking for. And that can be academic, that can be sports, that can be in relationships. There's all sorts of different ways that you can feel accomplished. But kids who flourish, people who flourish, have that sense of accomplishment on a regular basis. And so if you're not feeling that way, find your limits. Find out something that's difficult for you and work at it until it isn't so difficult. That feeling of conquering something that's difficult, climbing that wall, defeating that monster, that's a sense of accomplishment that leads to flourishing. Okay, so let's just quickly review. We've got positive feelings, laser focus in being engaged in our activities. We've got working on our relationships, feeling connected one with another, being meaningful in our activities, dedicating ourselves to something that's bigger than ourselves, and then high five. Have that sense of accomplishment in all you do. You stick to those things, and I've got ideas as to how you can work on them. That's part of what I'm trying to do here. You'll have a great year. You will flourish in the very first year of Colbanks Elementary. So have a good year, and don't be strangers.